Okay, so today we're talking about a story out of New York City that sparked a lot of debate online, and not just because of what's happened, but because of what it represents. It involves an NPD recruit, a religious accommodation request, and one of the most recognizable symbols in America, the U.S. flag. And while the headlines are doing what headlines do, grabbing attention, the real story here is bigger than one recruit. So let's break it down calmly, clearly, and without the noise. According to reporting from the Rare Foundation, a recent NYPD recruit allegedly submitted a formal request asking to be exempt from saluting the American flag during training. The reason given? The recruit reportedly stated that his religious beliefs only permit him to praise Allah, and therefore he could not participate in saluting the flag. Now, this request was submitted as what's called a reasonable religious accommodation, something that exists in many workplaces across the United States. As of now, the NYPD has not publicly confirmed the request or announced a final decision, but the story has already ignited a heated discussion online. And that discussion touches on faith, civic duty, law enforcement standards, and national identity. All right, let's pause for a moment and talk about what reasonable accommodation actually means. Under the United States law, employers are generally required to consider accommodations for sincerely held religious beliefs, as long as those accommodations don't create undue hardship or interfere with essential job duties. This can include things like prayer breaks, religious clothing, or grooming standards. As a matter of fact, the NYPD itself has made accommodations in the past, including allowing certain officers to grow beards, wear religious head coverings, or things of that nature. So the idea of accommodation in and of itself is not new. What is new, or at least controversial, is how far those accommodations can go when it comes to symbolic acts tied directly to public service. Saluting the American flag isn't just a casual gesture in law enforcement. It's part of a formal unified it's a formal part of unified service tied to discipline, unity, and respect for the institution officers represent. Police officers swear an oath to uphold the Constitution, not a political party, not a religion, but the rule of law. But for many Americans, the flag represents that shared civic responsibility, regardless of race, background, or belief. So when a police recruit asks to be exempt from saluting the flag, it raises a question many people are struggling to articulate. Can someone fully serve in a public role that is deeply symbolic of national unity while opting out of one of its core rituals? Unsurprisingly, reactions online have been intense. Some people argue that if someone chooses to join a police force, they should be willing to accept all aspects of that role, including its traditions and symbols. Other people say that religious freedom is a foundational American value and that accommodating sincere belief is part of what makes our country diverse and inclusive. Then there are those who worry about precedent. If one symbolic act can be declined, where does the line get drawn? And who decides which duties are essential and which are optional? These aren't easy questions, and pretending they are doesn't help anybody. This story also exists within a larger context. The NYPD has a complicated history with the religious and minority communities, particularly Muslim communities, dating back to surveillance programs and legal challenges over civil liberties. At the same time, The department has made public efforts to diversify its ranks and rebuild trust. So when a story like this emerges, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. It taps into years of unresolved tension, differing expectations, and deeply held beliefs on all sides. Here's the bigger picture. This isn't really just about one police recruit. It's about how a diverse society balances personal conviction with shared civil responsibility. It's about whether certain public roles require a baseline of symbolic participation, not to erase individuality, but to reinforce unity. And it's about how institutions decide what can bend and what cannot. America has always wrestled with those questions: freedom of religion, freedom of expression, and the responsibilities that come with serving the public. Sometimes those values align perfectly, sometimes they collide. So where does this go? That remains to be seen. The NYPD may deny this request. Okay, they may approve it, or they may create a compromise that satisfies legal requirements while maintaining institutional standards. But regardless of the outcome, the conversation is not going to go away because at its core, this story forces us to ask something important. What does it truly mean to serve? Not just as an individual, but as part of something larger than yourself. And how do we preserve both freedom and unity in a society built on both? Those are questions worth discussing thoughtfully, respectfully, and honestly. Now, if you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Respectfully, of course. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.